Hello, this is Martin Gore from Depeche Mode.
Hi, this is Dave Garn from Depeche Mode, and you are listening to
My Nerd World.
It's Depeche Mode, the podcast, and I'm your host, John Justice. Thank you for joining the episode this week. If you're new, I hope you'll subscribe on whatever podcast platform that you are listening to. Also, if you happen to be enjoying this up on YouTube, be sure to follow me there on YouTube as well, and you can leave a comment there. We'll share that on next week's episode, or you can always email me, talkshownerd@gmail.com. On this week's episode, we'll talk Dream Set Lists. Got a lot of emails to share this week. Also, a charity auction. Let's go ahead and start there. So a shout out to Philip Gahn, the brother of Dave Gahn, putting forward a special auction of which all proceeds from the sale in this auction will go to the British Heart Foundation to fund more breakthroughs and save lives. Obviously, for those that are familiar with the podcast, I've had my fair share of own personal heart issues, having gone through 3 different open heart surgeries. I have a mechanical valve for my aortic valve, which was I was born bicuspid. Found out about that when I was 37 years old. So I had a mechanical valve replace my aortic heart valve, and then an ascending aortic aneurysm attached because of that birth defect in my valve. So I had a graft that went and replaced it and had to go through a few corrective surgeries since then. So anything heart-related is near and dear to my heart. So this is a pair of 2017 Dave Gahn iconic gold boots that were worn at the Global Spirit Tour announcement. I believe he might have worn these during some appearances with Soul Savers, if not on the tour as well. But I do know for sure, as listed in the eBay listing, that these autographed, signed Saint Laurent gold leather Dakota boots, again, going back to 2017, autographed by Dave Gahn, worn at the Global Spirit Tour announcement. All you need to do is head on over to ebay.com and just search for signed Dave Gahn Depeche Mode, and you will find the listing there on eBay. So signed Dave Gahn Depeche Mode, and the Saint Laurent gold leather Dakota boots is where it is listed. And again, all the proceeds from this special auction will go to help the British Heart Foundation. So a worthy cause, a fantastic opportunity for those that collect items directly from the band, and I know many of you that listen to the show do. This is a fantastic opportunity to get a very unique item in these gold leather Dakota boots. It seems like Dave, in the latter part of Depeche Mode, has become somewhat of the fashionista, if I could say that. Certainly when it comes to his footwear. So head on over to ebay.com and just search for a signed Dave Gahn and Dakota leather boots, and you'll find it there. And again, a quick hat tip out to Phil Gahn for making me aware of that and for facilitating this particular auction, as these boots were donated directly by Dave. So these came straight from Dave, not somebody else who had received them. So they would go directly from Dave to whoever ends up winning these for a fantastic charity. No extra news this week. Nothing new to report regarding the documentary M. If you missed any of the details of what we know so far about this upcoming documentary that'll make its debut in June at the Tribeca Film Festival, be sure to check out the last 2 previous podcasts where we go into great detail of all the information that we know about that documentary. Still anticipating, because I know a lot of people have been asking me, that we will get those 4 unreleased tracks from Memento Mori in conjunction with the promotion of the Depeche Mode film M. So I'm still anticipating that and would expect the film to gain wide release sometime shortly after its debut and multiple screenings at the Tribeca Film Festival. And again, listen to the previous couple of podcasts where we lay out in detail what we can expect and what we know so far about that documentary. So with that, let's go ahead and just dive into your emails this week, of which there are a lot. First off, S12606JJ writes this: Thanks for your weekly podcast. Is some of the news that you have mentioned in this podcast connected with one of your previous podcasts where you have mentioned that you were not willing to share the information yet? Greetings from Croatia. Yes, as a matter of fact, most of everything that has been divulged now was the information that I had that I couldn't share before at the time. So there's a couple of things in there that haven't been mentioned yet, but those will come to light in fairly short order. The big ones regarding the potential of the unreleased tracks, the delay in the documentary, but knowing the documentary was going to be coming out eventually. You know, I say documentary, this is how I was referring to it initially. It really is going to be a feature-length film at 90 minutes. But yes, those were all related to the things I had been teasing before at the beginning part of the year. Next up, DX Model 219 says this. While we're all dreaming here, talking about the Dream set list, last album with Alan Wilder, let's go. I would not be certainly against that, but I'm also not an individual that's ever been pining for a return from Alan. I kind of lean in more with what Dave and Martin had said, and I think specifically Dave had said in the promotion of Memento Mori, he had made a comment that, you know, it had been decades since Alan was in the band. I mean, the band has been going on exponentially longer than the time that Alan was in the band. That's not to say that he wasn't crucial during those all-important and peak years of the band, but they've gone pretty far down the road now. Again, if Alan decided to join Dave and Martin for a final Depeche Mode record, I would be all for it, but it's also not something that for me personally, that I need to see in having more Depeche Mode music. Slumdog J writes this. I was at their Manchester gig in the UK for the Spirits tour, and they were fantastic. Dave's voice was spot on. Watched the Spirits Berlin gig when it came onto YouTube and was really disappointed. The band sounded tired, and Dave's voice was not great. Real shame. Was at their Glasgow gig last year, and it was pretty good, but Dave was off-key on quite a few songs. Still enjoyable, but not as good as the 2017 concert. I would be curious as to what point in the tour, the Memento Mori tour, that Glasgow gig was. Only because in the opening promotion of the album, and with the various television appearances, variety show appearances that they did, Dave did not sound good. I mean, singing those songs and Ghosts Again specifically, I just remember that I was a little bit concerned. It just seemed like he was really, really rusty on the new tracks. That changed completely by the time that certainly I ended up seeing them with my buddy Matt in Denver. Dave was spot on with his vocals. So I just wonder if the early part of the tour, Dave was still getting himself accustomed to singing the new tracks live. I think I mentioned last week I tried to watch a bit of Spirits in the Forest, and I just couldn't. I just do not like the way that Dave presents himself on stage, or sort of the snarling vocals. I talked about that pretty extensively last week, now that I remember. Thank you all so far for the messages, by the way. At Siwa 9878 writes this. Thanks very much for the news update on the documentary. I would very well think that a live recording will follow M's release in cinemas. Remember that Spirits in the Forest's physical release did also have the full live recording as a bonus. Do you think Anton's statement about there not being a live recording of the Memento Mori tour, he said something like that in Cologne last year, is more or less overwritten now? I am sure that Sony will want to release some kind of bonus documentary M. When the documentary was revealed, you mentioned a full live recording being considered as a bonus release to M. Yeah, I don't know. I'd heard from a few different people those comments from Anton. I still anticipate that there will be, in conjunction with the documentary, the full tour to be released on a physical release. The only thing that has me wondering if that may not be the case is whether or not, first off, that those shows were filmed to be released as an entire show, or if they were filmed specifically to capture moments for the documentary. And again, I don't know enough about the process to know if it's just by default they would have recorded the entirety of those shows with the potential to release one or cobble a whole show together, or if it was specifically being filmed as a documentary film style, in which case it didn't lend itself to just a straightforward physical release of the entire show. And that could be the case, much like what they ended up doing with 101. We have the extra tracks, some extra tracks from the Rose Bowl show, but we do not have the concert from beginning to end to watch top to bottom. We only have just the fragments and the particular songs that they chose. So that could end up being the case for Memento Mori and the Memento Mori tour. That being said, I did hear from multiple people that a live album was being considered. So considering we're getting the documentary, the rumors that I heard, my expectation is a live album release digitally, but also the tour to be available as well. But we'll see. And certainly if I get more information on that front, I will let you know. All right, let's go and hear from Ramon Arcos Bochet. I think I'm saying that correctly. Who writes this: my Depeche Mode Mexico City concert experience through the eyes of a superfan and tribute singer. I'm a graduate from the Berklee College of Music, where I studied music synthesis and songwriting. I'm 46 years old, a diehard Depeche Mode fan, and since 1990, the lead singer of not one but two bands, including a Depeche Mode tribute band here in Mexico City. Let me tell you a little story about my experience at the Memento Mori tour concerts in Mexico. I went to all three shows, and each night gave me a completely different perspective. Night one, I was right up front. Night two, I was smack in the middle of the crowd. Night three, I played it safe and stood all the way at the back with my two kids. Hey, a dad's got to stay alive. Now, here's where it gets interesting. At the concerts, I noticed a bunch of people working on the official Depeche Mode documentary. I know a couple of them. Not super close, but one of my friends who came to me has worked directly with the director. So, there was definitely a sense of connection there. The energy, absolutely electric. Drones were flying all over the crowd like futuristic fireflies. People were talking with such love and excitement about Dave and Martin. I even heard folks yelling, "Fly that drone right over me, man." Everyone was thrilled to be a part of something bigger. The feeling that Depeche Mode in Mexico is its own living, breathing thing. As a Mexican fan, I have to say Memento Mori feels especially powerful here. Our culture has such a deep relationship with death. We don't just mourn it, we celebrate it. That theme resonates with us on a whole different level. Oh, and get this. There was a rumor going around that they were filming part of the documentary at the Acropolis venue in Mexico. Supposedly, Dave and Martin were going to show up. So what did I do? I totally stalked the place out. Yeah, I waited like a teenager outside a back door for hours. Eventually, I thought, Ramon, you're 47, go home, man. So I did. I never saw them, but I tried. Now I'm counting the days until the documentary comes out. I love your podcast. I'm excited to hear what everyone else thought of the shows. And please share your set list. I'm always looking for fresh ideas for my own tribute band's next show. Sending a big hug and thanks for everything that you do. Love the podcast. Ramon Arcos Bochez. And I hope I'm saying your last name correctly. Fantastic email and insight there, Ramon. Really did enjoy it. Thank you so much for reaching out and sharing. All right, Lindsay McEachran writes this. John, amazing news about the new live documentary. Only bummer is there will be no Before We Drown, as they hadn't played it live until the London concert on January 27th, which is a shame as it's a brilliant track live. And then they write Stewart, so I guess the name there was wrong. But they write Stewart from Carluke, Scotland. So thank you so much for that, Stewart. I appreciate it. All right, so here's the deal. Let's go ahead and establish where we are in the show first. So Glenn 1965 suggested a few weeks ago, asking, what would your dream retrospective playlist be? All right, so dream set list. I got a lot. And I don't have a ton of time today. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go through a handful of these dream set lists today, and I'm going to hold some over for next week's episode, only because, trust me, I have so many that it would probably take me at least an hour to go through all of them on the show. So if I don't get to yours this week, trust me, I'm going to continue to sprinkle in these dream set lists throughout the coming week's podcast. So let's dive into a few of these. First off, let's go and hear from, it looks like they're just going by the letter D, so my apologies for not pulling up your whole, oh, wait, hold on a second here. I cut and paste these, so yeah. So this one just comes from D. They write this. Hi, John. Looking forward to the show this week and listening to what other DM fans would like to hear. My list goes as follows. I've taken 2 songs from each studio record, and I would like the band to play them in chronological order. Where possible, I've tried to not play the usual stuff from a live set list. For example, with Violator, I'm not picking Enjoy the Silence, Personal Jesus, or Policy of Truth. Given the studio back catalog, I may be a couple of songs over, having skipped Spirit, a low point for me. All right, so this is what D had to say. We go Puppets, Photographic, My Secret Garden, The Sun and the Rainfall, More Than a Party, Told You So, Lie to Me, If You Want, yay. Here Is the House, Dressed in Black, I Want You Now, Nothing, Halo, Clean, Get Right With Me, nice, Higher Love, Useless, The Bottom Line, When the Body Speaks, Free Love, I Want It All, Lillian, Come Back, Wrong, Slow, Should Be Higher, Don't Say You Love Me, and People Are Good. There you go. Would love to hear this lot played, D. Listen, interesting way to tackle it. My only issue would be, not a complaint because it's all subjective, right, is that like I would have liked to have taken those tracks and then rearranged them in an order of momentum, you know, to sort of tell a story, like what the band does now, where they have songs that kind of slow tempo, they speed back up, you know, slow tempo, they speed up the tempo, they go back down again. I would like to take that collection of songs and then, like I said, go and turn it into more of a proper playlist instead of chronological. But I know those were your rules, so you play however you want to play. All right, let's go to Instrumental Electronic Music 7976 writes this. For their dream set list, the intro would be Christmas Island, Into Black Celebration, Tora Tora Tora, Halo, Fly on the Windscreen, Something to Do. It Doesn't Matter To, the album version. The Things You Said, No Disco, wow. Shout, Behind the Wheel, In Your Room, the album version. My Favorite Stranger, Photograph of You, Told You So, Barrel of a Gun, Never Let Me Down, Always You, Enjoy the Silence, the 7-inch mix, I Feel You, and then Everything Counts, the devotional version. Coming from Instrumental Electronic Music 7976. There's really interesting, going through all of these, because I've read through all these already, there's some really interesting commonalities in some of the songs that people are choosing. I find that rather fascinating. So, all right. Emmett writes this. Hope all is well, longtime listener. Below listed is my Depeche Mode dream set list. May not be as polished as others. However, I feel the song placement will carry a concert from beginning to end. Appreciate if you can share it during your podcast. Keep up the great work. Well, here you go, Emmett. So, Photographic, Dangerous, Sea of Sin, the tonal mix, Higher Love, album version, I Want It All, And then we have a couple of Martin solos, Compulsion, nice, and Death's Door. Into My Favorite Stranger, Before We Drown. Then Dave Gaughan's solo song, Saw Something. In Sympathy, Dave Gaughan's Bitter Apple from his first solo album. Personal Jesus, Happiest Girl, like that mix. Lie to Me, But Not Tonight, that's good as well. Enjoy the Silence. Pleasure Little Treasure, yeah. That's a song that I've been returning to a lot as of late. Pleasure Little Treasure. Route 66, Don't Say You Love Me, yes. I'm so glad to see Don't Say You Love Me appear on 2 different Dream set lists so far. Never Let Me Down and Rush. One alteration, substitute My Favorite Stranger for Always You. Interesting. Always You also got a mention in the last one as well from Memento Mori. Thank you, Emmett. And thank you, Emmett. I appreciate it. All right. Let's see. Who is up next? My friend of the show, Matt. All right. Let's do it. So, Matt writes this. My dream set list call to action. You may recall that we undertook this same exercise 2 years ago. Yes, that's right. I dusted off my dream set list I sent 2 years ago and updated it for the pod. Like my original, this dream set list contains nothing after Songs of the Faith and Devotion era. I'm old school, and my dream set list is old school too. Over the last 20 years, the boys have played plenty of new millennia tracks. I don't need to hear It's No Good, Precious, or A Pain That I'm Used to, or Wrong played live again. Been there, done that. And there is no way any tracks from Sounds of the Universe, Delta Machine, or Spirit are making it on my dream set list cut. And while I love Memento Mori, I'm sorry, none of those tracks, not even Ghosts Again, how dare you, makes my dream set list. You could have just tossed Ghosts Again just for me. I heard plenty from Memento Mori on the last tour. Sorry, John, I hope we can still be friends. Yes, even though you're talking sacrilege, absolutely. All right. Time to go back to the good stuff. No, the best stuff, writes Matt. I'm not messing around. I know your German listeners will say, Das stimmt, Matt? Okay. All right, a few notes. First off, for Matt's Dream Depeche Mode setlist tour, 1, Alan will be on stage. No Eigner, he's great, but I prefer the drum machine. Gordino is a no-go. Again, he's great, but he's no Alan, and now we have no need for him. Also, nor your eyes are not deceiving you. You will find no personal Jesus or In Your Room. No, I Feel You. No Walking in My Shoes. I've heard those songs too many times. It's time for other tracks. And if I'm limited to 20 songs, sorry, nothing pre or post Alan makes the cut. And lastly, I've nicked the Taylor Swift era's tour concept for this dream set list. I'm not a Swiftie, but I thought the Eras thing was very, very cool. So without further ado, here it is. All right, so the intro tape starts and we get Collide. From the Music for the Masses era, Behind the Wheel, and Strangelove, the single mix. From the Catching Up with Some Great Reward era, Get the Balance Right, Shake the Disease full version. If you want, and then Dave says we have a special friend here tonight, Alan Wilder, who wrote this one. Oh, yeah, I just got the John Justice vote for the best set list ever. Now, see, but man, I would have been including songs from the rest of the albums post Songs of Faith and Devotion. So, but your inclusion of If You Want does get a thumbs up from me. That's my go-to heading into the weekend song. All right, People Are People, the different mix Music for the Masses Tour 101 arrangement. Time to bring this classic back. I don't care what Martin says. The music is mind-blowing no matter how cheesy the lyrics are. And live, it's just a banger crowd pleaser that can't be beat. Blasphemous Rumors, perfect track to wind down the first third of the show and segue into the Martin section. For Martin, we get the full version of A Question of Lust. And then I want you now, Martin on acoustic guitar, just like the World Violation Tour. From the Black Celebration era, we get Black Celebration. Here is the House full version. Yeah, it's a good. Fly on the Windscreen and Stripped, Music for the Masses Tour 101 arrangement. From the Violator era, World in My Eyes, Devotional Tour arrangement. Enjoy the Silence, again, Devotional Tour. Let's see. Guitar solo, Martin's Best, the perfect way to end the regular set. For the encore, the special for hardcore fans only segment. It doesn't matter. Martin, full version. Did I mention John Justice is going to love this set list? Dangerous. My Joy. Yes, My Joy. Absolutely. He says, say it, John, say it loud. Matt is my daddy. The set list rules. Encore number 2. This is the way every DM show should end. Banger, banger, celebrate. But not tonight. Never let me down again. Everything counts. With the crowd repeating the chorus nonstop until the band finally walks off stage. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Listen, Matt, that is a great set list. My only issues, again, were got to go through the Songs of Faith and Devotion era, man. Just cannot miss that. And like I said, for me personally, I'm going all the way through the entirety of the catalog. All right, let's go to one more for this week because we're heading into some rather lengthy emails. So let's go ahead and do one more for this week. And again, if you did not hear your email on this week's show or set list, I'll certainly be sharing those on the upcoming episodes. So today we hear from friend of the show, Steve Lank, who writes this. Like yourself, very excited to hear about the new documentary M coming out later this year. Those drone shots of the Mexican concerts are amazing. I also feel like watching this new film in the cinema is like seeing them again in concert. It definitely felt like that for me when I watched Spirits in the Forest. I don't understand the doomsayers who say that it's too long after the Memento Mori tour. Hopefully there will be a new album and tour in the future, but we know that this would normally be on a 4-year cycle, so having someone else new in the meantime, or having something else new in the meantime, is definitely a positive thing. So here's my retrospective playlist in order. Get the Balance Right, The Sun and the Rainfall, Policy of Truth, In Your Room, Ghosts Again, My Favorite Stranger, Before We Drown. Ooh, I like that set there. Nice little Memento Mori set. Walking in My Shoes, Stripped, Shake the Disease, acoustic, Martin Gore, Home, acoustic, Martin Gore, Waiting for the Night, acoustic, Never Let Me Down Again, Precious, Insight, Should Be Higher, first appearance this week, Blue Dress, nice, Everything Counts, Personal Jesus, and Enjoy the Silence. Keep up the great work. Your friend of the show, Steve Lank. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate that. And thank you to everybody who has sent in your emails. Continue to do so. On next week's episode, I want to give you a bit of a preview. I have a lengthy email here from a really young Depeche Mode fan that I'm very much looking forward to sharing with you. I've had this now for a couple of weeks, and again, I apologize I don't have time today, but they write at the start of this. I'll just share with you a little bit. I'm an 18-year-old boy from Dresden, Germany. I really like your podcast. I wanted to share some of my feelings about the upcoming Memento Mori documentary and give you my 20-song set list. And he goes on to talk about how his dad was a Depeche Mode fan, and he grew up listening to the band from time to time until ultimately becoming a huge fan. So just as a bit of a preview for next week's episode, I wanted to share that with you because I've read through this email, and it really is a lot of fun, especially when you hear from somebody as young as 18. For us old geezers and lifetime fans of the band, it's nice to hear from a younger generation. Thank you so much for checking out this week's episode. As always, if you want to email me, talkshownerd@gmail.com, or leave a comment up on YouTube. We'll get to more of your emails that you've been sending in next week. Lastly, if it's one of your first times listening to the podcast, I hope, again, you'll follow me on whatever podcast platform you're listening to the show on, or follow me on YouTube as well. And if you like to read science fiction and you want to support the podcast, check out my science fiction series. I'm a massive Star Wars fan. If you love Depeche Mode, and you do, or else you wouldn't be listening to this podcast, and you like to read science fiction, treat yourself, a friend, or a family member with sci-fi. I set my story in the future, 2172, where flight culture has replaced car culture. Inspired in part by Depeche Mode, and the main character himself is a massive Depeche Mode fan at a time when the music of the 80s through the 2000s is nostalgic and popular among the characters of the story. They also feature references to Depeche Mode, both direct and indirect, while telling an exciting science fiction space opera saga. After Earth faces its end, you'll follow pilots Taft, Katha, and their crew on a journey of survival across the galaxy as they fight for humanity's future. It's a fun, fast-paced, and action-packed epic science fiction adventure without an agenda. So if you like your science fiction to be epic, filled with romance, cool technology, and a lot of action, Embark is perfect for you. Written for adults, but great for ages 11 plus, pick up Embark Book 1 today. Available in hardcover, paperback, audiobook, ebook, and free on Kindle Unlimited. Just go to Amazon.com, search for Embark, and John, Jon Justice. I hope wherever you are, you're happy, you're healthy, you're safe. God bless. I look forward to hearing from you between now and next week. And I'll talk to you then. Have a great one. Bye.
Hello, this is Martin Gore from Depeche Mode.
Hi, this is Dave Garn from Depeche Mode, and you are listening to